back to Tiger Talk.
I'm Anna.
I'm TT, and we have a very special guest with us. We have
Maria Regina. I'm the chair of the board of Maria Regina High School and an alum from the class of 1971. Hello.
We're so excited to have her on.
To have her here. It's been in the works for a while, and today we're going to be talking to her a lot about her career, her experience at Maria Regina, her experience as chairman of the board, and we're just really excited to talk to her today.
Yeah, so let's get right into it.
So our first question for you today is, how would you describe your experience at Maria Regina, and just maybe tell us a little bit about it?
Okay. Well, I started here in 1967, which was a while ago. I graduated in 1971, and I loved my school. I loved it. I was first exposed to Maria Regina when I was a child. My mother brought me here to a Glee Club concert. It was then, now it's called Chorus, was then Glee Club. And immediately I was sitting on her lap and I said, this is where I want to go to school. That's how it happened. So I started here in 1967 and I loved the school. I loved my teachers and I had a lot of fun with extracurriculars. I did the Queen's Banner, which was the school paper. And ultimately I was the layout editor in my junior year, and in my senior year I was managing editor with one of my best friends who was the editor-in-chief. And I also was in the chorus, which I loved, which we called Glee Club back then. I loved it. And I was the accompanist for the Glee Club. I played the piano. So those were my two favorite things and my fondest memories. And I fell in love with mathematics in high school. I had a wonderful teacher, Barbara Bierbauer, who taught me math and physics for a few years, and she was my inspiration to be a math major in college. So
shout out to Barbara if you're
watching
this.
Shout out to Barbara if you're watching.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay. So to follow up on that, Marianne, how did that shape you today? Like, how did your whole Maria Regina experience kind of help you know what you want to do and how you kind of went about it?
That's a great question. And as I, went on in life, I realized in retrospect how much Maria Regina gave to me. I think immediately the thing that I was most grateful for was the intellectual training that I got here, the skills that I learned, studying and reasoning and thinking things through. And I remember when I ultimately went to law school after college, and I remember when I was in my first year of law school being very certain that I was getting through that based on what the foundation that I got here at Maria Regina. And I said that quite often, I'm getting through this based on my high school training, so I'm eternally grateful for that. And I think, when I look back on my life and what I'm doing now, most of my jobs have been service oriented. And I think that inspiration came from my time at Maria Regina, and I probably didn't even realize it, but it is the thing that has driven everything that I've done throughout my life. So I'm grateful for all of those experiences.
Yeah. No, I mean, even as a student currently, I feel like service is such a big part of our community, and it's like instilled in us in a way, so I could definitely see how that might have shaped your service-oriented career.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah.
So it's clear that you enjoyed your experience here as a student a lot, so we were wondering what's inspired you to stay so involved over the years.
Yes, well, in the late 1990s, I was working in Washington at a job, and one day the phone rang, and it was Sister Danielle, who was the principal here at Maria Regina at the time, and she called, and we had a long conversation. It was probably pretty close to an hour, and she talked to me about the school and what was going on, and it was just a reconnection. I don't know what inspired her to do that, but I was always so grateful for that. And when I left that job, which was probably about a year later, she invited me to come back and join the Alumni Association, which just began at that time. So I served on that association for a number of years. I was, I think, the secretary, and then took a break for a few years, and then she called again back in 2009 when Maria Regina was declared financially independent by the New York Archdiocese. And going forward had to be governed by a Board of Trustees. And she invited me to come back and serve on the Board of Trustees, and I said yes. So I've been on the Board of Trustees since 2009, and I have served as the secretary, the vice chair, and most recently I'm the chair of the board.
Wow.
Oh wow. So based on your experience, what does the board do for Maria Regina, and why is it so important to you?
The Board of Trustees is the governing body of the school, and that means that we have a function of oversight for all the aspects of Maria Regina, which include education, finance, we have supervision over the finances of the school, development, advancement, reconnection with alumni, raising money for the school, buildings and grounds, we supervise the physical plant to make sure that everything's in order. It's really basically, a supervisory education, most important. We set the tone for the school in the sense that we contribute to what the mission statement of the school is, what we see as priorities, each year going forward to help the school advance forward, to blossom, and to continue to provide, a superior Catholic education to the young women who attend here.
Wow, that's interesting because that's something that's so behind the scenes, I feel like, to the students.
So basic.
Okay, so transitioning more into your life after graduating from Maria Regina, you mentioned earlier how you majored in math in college, but eventually went to law school. So what made you decide to make that switch, and how did you transition?
That's a great question. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I think from the time that I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, and I think it was based on TV shows and books that I read. I've always gravitated towards mysteries and so on. I always had an interest in criminal law.
Yeah.
But then, as I mentioned, I had this fabulous teacher in high school, math teacher, and I followed in her footsteps, and I became a math major in college, which was fabulous training for law because it teaches you logic and reasoning, very disciplined thinking. But about 2/3 of the way through my college experience, I realized that math really wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. I think for me it felt very specific and difficult to relate to people, and I was a people person. So I decided to go back to my original dream and go to law school. So I did. I went to Fordham and loved it, and realized very quickly that the training that I had not only at Maria Regina but also in mathematics and the training in logic was very, very helpful towards the practice of law.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay, Marianne, what challenges or any setbacks have you faced throughout your time and your career?
I think the challenges that I've experienced are based on the responsibility that you carry, representing someone's well-being, their financial well-being, their personal well-being, whether it's in private practice or, in the criminal context, doing the best job you can, trying not to make mistakes, just doing your job responsibly, honorably, and to the best of your ability. That's a challenge. Just keeping in mind the responsibility that you have can be difficult at sometimes, but rewarding because you get through it.
So Marianne, as a woman in such a highly respected field such as law, have you ever felt that your gender has impacted the opportunities that you've been given, or maybe lack thereof?
I really don't think so. I think I was blessed to go to law school at a time when women were just beginning to emerge in that profession. And for example, I mentioned earlier that I clerked for a federal judge. I was his first female law clerk. So that happened a few times, being the first this, the first that.
Right.
But the opportunities were there, the doors were open, and I can't say that there was anything that I wanted that I wasn't able to, to get because of gender.
Yeah, well that's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah. It's really important how women can have such a high impact on whether it be the law field, the medical field. I feel like it's really important for women to allow them to get their voices out there, to advocate, to help people, just like you said, with being in private practice, things like that, helping people mentally with their situations, financially. So I think it's really important to really emphasize that.
Yes, I think women bring special gifts every
Yes.
time, and you're right about that. It's certainly true with law.
Yes, I feel like women just have a special sense of compassion, honestly. I always thought that.
So Annabelle, after I've answered all these questions, let me ask you a question. Tell me about your experience at Maria Regina. Tell me what you love about the school.
Everything. Like it's such a not generic answer, but you'll hear from alums, current students, like the community here I think is really something special. And honestly, the fact that we're all sitting here together right now doing something like this, I feel like is something very unique to Maria Regina.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I feel very supported here. I feel like there's nothing that I may want to do that I couldn't, honestly. I feel like I won't be told no here very much. I feel like my opportunities here are kind of limitless, and I've just really enjoyed that my past 3 years here.
I felt exactly the same way when I was here. And it was a different time for women. As I said, things were just beginning to emerge in terms of opportunities for us. But being here, you could be everything. You could be the leader in every area, and that's still true.
Yeah, there's definitely something here for everyone, and I just love that about it.
Oh. So Talia, it's been so nice to talk to you. Tell me please about what are your dreams for the future?
Wow, dreams, goals, aspirations. I definitely, probably since I started psychology. So really in the pre-medical field, I've just always been a science math girl. Always what's this about, right? Like I'm so curious about just different things. So I feel like with that motivation, and also feel like the setup at Maria Regina, just the classes, the rigor. I take 3 AP classes right now, so I think that alone sets me up for so much success, but also just the involvement, extracurriculars, whether it be the Scrubs Club, Environmental Club, just different kinds of clubs. Also with this podcast, such a good outreach for me to allow my voice to be heard and just help me for the future in college, because I want to pursue anesthesiology. So I feel like this is a good platform, good way to start, and also doing my own research is really important as well. So I feel like over the summer, I've worked with a lot of doctors. A lot of my family are doctors, so I've kind of been experiencing the whole medical field my whole life. So I feel like just being surrounded by that constantly really just makes me sure in my heart that this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. A lot of schooling, but I want to do it. So
it makes me so happy to hear that, and I'm so glad that you're developing those interests and dreams here at Maria Regina. We're very proud of you, and I hope you stay close when you graduate. You're both seniors, right?
Yes.
It's so exciting. It's really good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for answering those questions. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode. We loved having Marianne on the podcast.
And Marianne loved being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Of course,
you.
thank you for coming. Thank you for talking to us today. And thank you for everything that you do for our community at Maria Regina.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, guys.
Thank
See you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.